All right, good day, everyone. This is going to be the first video in a little series I'm going to do that is just talking about lap times and lap guides for some of the public races. I am going to be doing some public races again, trying to grind the iRating up to fit a bit more my speed, my actual skill level. I'm like 2K iRating because I just kind of sat there once I got 2K. Didn't really drive public races, been driving leagues and doing a lot of practice, but I think I've beat people that are in the 4Ks, so I think it's time to kind of work to bump that number up a little bit and have it be more representative of reality for me. But I'm being a bit selective of what I drive, just because of the time and the practice that I'm doing for some real life racing. So I'll be driving the LMP3 in the I forget the name of the series, but it's the one that's LMP3 and GT4. So this is a little track guide. So some things to note about the track guide. This is not the fastest lap I could possibly ever do. If you look at it, it's actually like 9/10 off of the Hymo like reference lap. Now, obviously, those guys are like properly fast, right? They're properly fast. And maybe they have a bit more practice than I do here. But I wanted to put something up that kind of shows the lap, something a bit more realistic. It's close to the edge, but it's something that you can repeat, every time. Something to kind of reference yourself. So I'll be using this lap as my reference lap for the week as I do these races, and this is what I'll be striving to. So my delta will be set to this lap, and we are going to be trying to match this lap as close as possible. Like, what you should maybe aim to do is whatever your reference lap is, whether you're faster than me, you're slower than me, you're exactly the same time as me, is you should be kind of trying to get yourself within plus or minus 5/10, right? I don't think it needs to be any tighter than that because that's a bit unrealistic. You don't need to be chasing the time the entire time. But what you want to do is try to build out some consistency and build yourself a rhythm. And if you can do that over the course of a race distance, you may find that you're faster than you thought you were, but also you'll find that you're consistent. A lot of people are not super consistent. So this is to build consistency. So what we'll do is I'll show the lap in full speed, and then we'll walk through and break down some of the points of the lap in detail. All right, so let's talk about it. So there's a couple of things that I think you got to be aware of. So as we play the lap, what you kind of want to be doing here as you're setting up for this first complex, because the idea of this complex is just to slow the car down as late as possible, but set yourself up for a really wide entry into the wide to tightens right-hander at the top of the hill. So if we look in, if I can find the cockpit cam, I'm blind. Oh wow, oh, here it is. Okay, so this is what you kind of want to look at, right? So this should be completely flat. You carry the speed down. Miss this apex. You don't need to touch this. And again, the goal is to be as far to the left as possible here as you go around this part of the track. And where I start to brake is going to be a little dependent on others, right? Like I could be a little more straight here by getting earlier or getting to the left earlier. In fact, I would maybe try to do that. But what you want to do is you want to make sure I don't brake until after this line. It's for me, it's like a heartbeat. I don't have like a good visual reference. I just have like a rhythm. So a heartbeat or so after this line is when I brake. Maybe you can kind of use. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have like a reference. When these two trees are in my view, I'm looking over here. I'm trying to look through the corner as much as possible. So my eyes are going from here to here to here to here to here to here, this entire part. So I'm not really looking out here. It kind of blends in, right? So I need to be focused on what my goal is, and my goal is to open this up. So you carry this through, and you got to be really careful with the brakes here. Like, you need to release a little bit as you crest, and because you want to run over this curb a bit. I've tried going more to the left. It does also work. So it depends on your confidence level, right? Again, try to find something that's repeatable. Don't necessarily just mirror what I do. Do what works for you. But you find you have to actually, once you get the car straightened up, I'm braking a little more. Now, I might find some value in getting the car more to the left to be straighter, but I haven't found that it actually works too well. I will experiment. You should also experiment, but that's kind of where we are. And I want to get a lot of braking done here, and then rotate the car in, and just barely kiss the apex. I might even be a little off of it. And the thing about these apexes, right, is if you're off, I'm off by quite a bit, right? Like, I should be pointing this way, and it actually kind of screws me up. So I should wait a little later to turn here. And that might be something I work on. But if you still carry the speed mid-corner and it doesn't compromise you too much on exit, because if you hit this apex right, you don't really need to use this over here. You don't lose a ton, right? Like, I could definitely gain maybe a couple of tenths here, but what is in my available range right now is what I'm doing. I'm kind of on the edge coming into that. I kind of want to make sure I get through it. And so getting through it is the priority, and not slowing yourself down too much. So I roll a little extra speed and then get back on the throttle. And I know the car has the downforce. Yeah, I might be scrubbing a tiny bit at the beginning. It might be kind of on the edge, but also kind of not. Like, it kind of works for the car. So as you come around here, you don't need to get super far out there. Get yourself right back over here, kiss this. I've jumped this. It hasn't gained me any time. I've gotten the wheels on here. I've damn near cut it, which is a cut. So if you get these left wheels over onto the grass, it's going to be a cut. But since the weight is so loaded up here, if you do run over here, like in overtaking, like someone pushes you over here, you can do it. Just be mindful you will get a cut, not a slowdown. So something to think about. You don't really need to run over onto this curbing. There's really no point. This is a tricky one. So it's so bumpy. So I brake right as we kind of come into this white part. So as I start to see this white, and I crest this white here, I'm going pretty hard on the brakes and then immediately releasing and turning the car in, because it's so bumpy and I want to get the car down to here. If you have any more brake pressure than like this, you're going to spin the car because you're going so fast. So you don't want to have a ton of brake pressure. You might even find value in braking a little softer and then braking it down to even lower. I don't know, but what I really want to focus on is this is another corner where I'm not really focused on this corner. I'm focused on what this sets me up for the next corner. So, very bumpy. Start to feed the throttle back in. Be off the brakes. Don't carry brakes down to this apex because you will spin. You really, really will spin. Get back on the throttle, and I want to open this up. So where I'm looking is over here, and I can't see my corner, but I know I need to be looking over here, and the car needs to now start to get over to the right side. So when we look at the car, the attitude of the car, I'm starting to actually feed in some brake. This is like my foot resting on the pedal, so don't worry about it too much. But what I'm going to do is start to come off the throttle. And how we come off the throttle is really important. You don't want to just snap off the throttle. You want to just bleed off of it as you work to get the car to the right. I could maybe get a little righter sooner, and you'll actually see that I kind of messed this corner up. I think this corner is really crucial, especially for overtaking. You can get a good move done or set yourself up for the next sector with a good move here. So it's really crucial that you get the car turned in to get up the hill, but not so much that you overslow, because you can lose a lot if you do that. So we want to get the car nice and wide. and then you just slight bit of trail and get the car in. I would try to apex a little late here to set yourself up for this because of the downforce. These marks don't really tell the whole story in my opinion. I'm still a bit off of the apex compared to what I'd like to be. Like, we don't quite get down to it, but it's still not horrible because we are what? We're carrying speed. As long as we're carrying speed, I think this is okay. I still would like to be a little more left, but we don't compromise too much. And actually, I saw on my delta that I was gaining on my optimal lap here. Kind of stay off the curbs, you know, you can kiss them a bit, but you want to carry this around, and then your goal is to get out to the left. I could have maybe gotten there sooner. Honestly, I should have tried to get there sooner because you want to set this up. This is actually a lot tighter than you think, and it's a downhill braking zone. I bleeded back over. It kind of works. I could maybe brake a bit later if I'm more over to the left earlier, but again, it's a lot easier to just do it this way, and it's not that much slower. And you want to rotate this. I just kiss the curb on here. Don't mount it. You will bounce off the curb. It's not great. And then on exit, be very careful. Do not run over this. If you run over this, even if you have like, you know, 2 degree of wheel, I think if you have any wheel, you're gonna spin the car. It's gonna, you know, you're gonna run over it on the bottom. It's gonna bottom out and spin the car. So I would say this is about as far as you want to go on exit here. Keep it nice and to the left. This is another slightly downhill braking zone. I brake at about the 100. As soon as I go past it, I'm hard on the brakes for a second, and then I start to bleed off because we are going downhill. I want to get the initial brake energy in to start to slow the car down, but I don't want to be in it any more than that. And you actually, this is a weird one. I think there's a couple of lines. The line that works for me is actually trailing into the corner quite a bit and trying to roll speed through. Late apexing this, you know, trying to get, I wouldn't touch the curb. You can run over it a little bit, but I've found that when you get to this part, it bounces you off. I want to be very late, so here or here is kind of where my apex is. Again, I'm a little off, but what we do is we start to pick up the throttle as we're still turning. Again, this is a lot of turning for the amount of throttle that we have, so being a little more on the inside might help here. But the goal is just to get back on the power, and you can actually run quite wide here. I get really close to the edge. You don't want to cross this grate. That's where the off track is. But there is some grip here, and so I run this really, really wide. Again, there is a couple of tenths in that. You know, I will try it. You should also try it, but don't worry about it too much. Get out of there. You know, open this up quite a bit because it's actually a pretty difficult braking zone, and it's actually pretty fast. Get yourself over. Brake. You can't go super hard. Yeah, I think if you go really any harder than this, you will lock the brakes. So this is kind of the limit because there's a bump there, as you see. You're in pretty hard braking, and there's a nice big old bump. So be careful of that. Don't touch too much of the curb. I go down to first here and just kind of roll speed. I took a little too much curb. It helped me a little bit, but maybe take a little less curb. One thing I'm struggling with the right-hand corners is why I'm not quite getting the apex right, is this internal view. I can't really see where I'm going, but these lefts, you really can. So try to, if you struggle with this or if you have another view that works for you, okay, great. For me, this is a problem. So I try to make sure anything that I'm compromising in these rights, I'm making up for in these lefts. So I'm really just trying to roll a bunch of speed through here. No need to go super far out there. This one's interesting. I think it depends on your driving style and how you get your brakes released. You could go down to first, but you're going to be going right back up to second. Try to stay in second. Try to roll the speed through here. Late apex. And don't. I don't think there's any benefit in getting on this curb. Every time I've gotten on this curb, even if it's just a little bit, I bounce out to the right. The car, the traction control kicks in quite heavy. And I don't think you should drive this track without traction control, just given how bumpy it is. If you're really, really good, maybe go for it. But for me, it's just set on 1, just like the HIMO setup is. And you know, I'm not. I mean, maybe I could be a little more over here, but this curb kind of scarred me a bit, and so now I'm staying away from it. Getting back on the throttle, hustle yourself back to the left. Again, we brake at this white. I think it's a common theme for me here. As the white kind of starts to disappear, go hard on the brakes, and then back it off to about medium, because again, it's bumpy. You can see the car, boom, boom, you know, it's kind of going up and down. It's very, very bumpy here. I don't think there's benefit in trying to push this braking zone. Don't push it. Just get through it is really what it comes down to. And again, this is another one that I have a lot of issues with, right? You'll see in my lap, I can't see this at all. So I'm just kind of finding some reference, trying to look through it. And my goal here is just to late apex it and hopefully not have it screw me up too much. I imagine I'm pretty far off of it. Yeah, like I'm pretty far off of it. Like you can definitely get tighter, and I think you should try to get tighter. But for me, based on where I was on entry and what I could see, this was my best. So what I prioritize is just keeping the speed up, keep the energy in the car. Yeah, I'm understeering a lot, right? Like I'm turning a lot, and I probably shouldn't be, but I've already made the decision to come off the brakes. It is what it is. So I'm just trying to roll the speed through. Get pretty wide here, and then I see the AI go all the way over here and come back in. I don't think you have time for that. I keep it nice and tidy. Middle track and then right back. Hard on the brakes, it's uphill, but again, it is very, very bumpy. So be very careful here. You think you can brake really hard because you get a bit of compression, but it's so bumpy. And this is another one where I cannot see this, right? So I'm going the safe approach. I know I need to get my exit. So I'd rather be a bit off the curb and get a good exit than bounce off the curb and be screwed down the really, really long straight. So I kind of get it in as tight as I can. And, you know, when we're here, you can't see anything. You know, this entire time you are going based on memory. So try to take this slow a couple of times and build yourself like a good rhythm here. But, you know, you can only do so much. And I'm trying to get on the throttle as much as possible, using that camber and uphill to my advantage. And don't cross, same thing, center line. So don't cross this, but run as far out as you really can and carry your speed up. And that is a lap of Circuito de Navarra. I think this will be a good reference for myself and others. Use this, build a rhythm, and do your best. Have fun racing. Thanks for watching, guys. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Appreciate you. Peace.